Welcome to UC News, ucnewscanada.ca. The Canadian Crisis Response, I'm Dr. Dave. As the Mayor and most of Council remain trapped in juvenile stages of cognitive development, unable to explain even the simplest bylaws at a grade school level of reasoning, residents are reminded that they have the right to organize community work in all areas of life off limits to political intrusion and interference. Individuals trapped in juvenile stages of mental development are identified by their inability to make rational decisions based on fact, evidence, and reason. Having limited capacities to think, write, or speak, they rarely move beyond the 800-word capacity of basic English. They laugh and make jokes when residents in deep distress ask why their rights to life have been removed. Giving short, shallow answers, 3-word replies, whatever happens to come to mind. Using words with ambiguous meaning, with no evident connection to physical reality, tangible outcomes, or basis in fact and evidence. Claiming authority but unable to explain the basis. Unable to fulfill the duties of their job description and code of conduct, the Canadian Constitution Act. Reasonable persons assume there must be a reason, not realizing that persons with mental illness operate without reason and lack this capacity. They simply put up a front or claim they have authority. Unable to do the work, they hire consultants or get the staff to do it. This is a cover because they could have easily reached out to the incredible knowledge base present in the community. Instead, engaging in illegal voting by whim, like, or dislike without basis, and by exertion of power, making rules that under Section 52 of the Constitution Act are illegal, without force or effect. Idiots writing rules that all citizens are free to ignore, and we do. Choosing naturally to use healthy processes of problem solving, coincident with Supreme Court charter processes, using multiple factors based on fact, evidence, reason, and justice. We also make difficult decisions between filling a prescription and buying food, knowing we can't do both. Our right to grow food having been removed by the Mayor, claiming that public land is not public. An entire young generation driven out. The concern being that those with mental health disabilities across the sociopath-psychopath spectrum write their personalities into policy, writing bylaws reflecting distorted mental states not connected to physical reality and in hatred of healthy human relations, providing evidence in writing and action of their lack of normal brain function of decision-making guided by overarching principles of care and justice. Instead, working against all principles and practices of fundamental justice, working against the law and taking pleasure in using force to frustrate citizens and remove fundamental freedoms of choice and rights essential to life. These being deeply disturbed antisocial personality types fundamentally incapable of working in the public interest, saying they do so in press releases, but in action and policy doing the opposite. The purpose being fraud to gain moral or material benefit denied others, this being the criminal code definition of theft, this being the crime of sedition, claiming benefits denied and taken from others in multiple major violations of the Canadian Constitution Act, now taken to the extent of creating a national crisis of work, food, and housing. As fundamental rights to basic Section 7 life security are denied Canadians in a falsely created crisis designed to strip people of everything, the Mayor simply laughs at all of this and says everything is fine. But he cannot cover up the fact that his policies have no basis in law, no basis in legal decision-making, and are, in root cause analysis, consistently against our lives, the Canadian Constitution Act, and the justice system. With City Hall so deeply immersed in criminal code and human rights violations that the Mayor cannot answer even the simplest questions without launching a cascading avalanche of self-crimination. Yet under sworn oath of office is legally obliged to provide a strong and compelling reason for the removal of fundamental rights to life of citizens, a reason for each policy, bylaw, and action, a strong and compelling case for having taken the grocery money from struggling seniors. What was the urgent cause? This being the sworn oath of duty under Section 1 of the Canadian Constitution Act and our right to representation. Obliged to work under the law using the principles of justice, Section 1 is a sworn oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is honesty, honest work, and an ability to say what you are doing and why. When a worker in government cannot do this, they have abdicated their duties, leaving these open by equality under the law for competent citizens to take up the tasks in this abandoned domain of decision-making. Section 1 being our Canadian right to competency, our right to a healthy society based on the best ideas, directing us to a safe course in parental care for a fair and sustainable future. This being our right to personal, social, and national self-determination, which we as citizens are free to exert. In all areas of duty abandoned by the Mayor, and in all areas of Section 7 life security legally off limits to political interference. That is the law already ruled on by the Supreme Court of Canada. Since COVID, after not working and printing money, the real economy has crashed. This being a major crisis, an all-hands-on-deck moment in Canadian history. Yet this local government has no plan for green jobs creation, no plan for a fair and sustainable future, no plan to include Canadians as part of the solution, but does have plans to stop people from growing food, to stop people from connecting to create work, to destroy land critical to our lives, to remove all places where we can work, make, or sell things. This being the official plan, a poverty creation program actually put in place at City Hall, identical to that used in North Korea and characteristic of those with permanent mental health disabilities, fully written into policy, easily assessed by intent and effect, ranking high in the psychopathy checklist, verifiable DSM-5 behaviors of mental illness and disabled brain functions, provable by electric and magnetic resonance imaging, in full evidence at every council meeting, in City Hall citizen relations, in bylaws and actions against life. These are psychopaths fully engaged in pathological lying, saying that public is not public. Our City Hall bylaws are public. We paid for work to be done, but they did not do it. They worked against our lives and the law. This being sedition, they must go to prison, leaving us free to consider the ways in which we can, by public government, achieve a free and sustainable society, free from the ravages of the psychotic mind.